Bonjour, bienvenue, hello, and welcome to this first edition of a new series that we're launching at Secret Journeys called Secret Journeys Talks. This will be once a month, and the idea behind Secret Journeys Talks is a conversation with personalities who shape the institutions, part of the collections of journeys at Secret Journeys. And today, to start this new series, I'm very, very happy and pleased to welcome Paul Chaine. Bonjour, Paul. Hello.
Bonjour. Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me.
Sure, it's a great pleasure actually on a few different counts. But first, I'd like to everyone can read your title, but you're today Deputy Communication Director and Head of Digital for the Estate of Versailles. But as I was saying, it's a pleasure on many counts because you and I, we go way back. We also have a passion for media and news, and that was before our current professional chapters. This is when we met. So it's a pleasure that our paths crossed again, Paul.
Exactly.
And it's great to have you again today. So today, Paul, we're going to cover a few questions. There are about 10 questions, and the idea really is also to give the opportunity to our audience to also understand our ADN. And our ADN is really to meet with personalities such as you who really bring to life, day in and day out, these institutions, these landmarks, Paris and around. So here today we're going to talk about Versailles. It's an important date for Versailles because, as many museums, Versailles reopened just recently. That was on May 19th. And my first question to you is, with the estate of Versailles, and I'd like you to also tell our audience the estate of Versailles is even more than the Palace of Versailles. You'll tell us a bit about that. But it has reopened on May 19th. Quick question. First question is, how does it feel to finally reopen? There were many shutdowns, and this last one was long. How does it feel?
Thank you, Philippe, for welcoming me, and I'm very pleased to be here on your first Secret Journeys talk. It's an honor for me, for the Palace of Versailles, and I'll be happy to present the offer and to speak about the palace. If you have any question, please do not hesitate to ask. I'll be happy to answer. So how does it feel to be open again? It's quite moving because it was so sad for being closed for almost 7 months. And since the 19th, we are open. And quite happily, we've seen that the first weekend of opening, the palace was full. I mean, full, given the current circumstances of a gauge, a very limited gauge for sanitary reasons due to the pandemic, as you can imagine. But we're happy to welcome again some visitors. Palace of Versailles has always been a place for welcoming visitors. It was the courts and the courtesans at the time of Louis XIV, XV, and Louis XVI, before the Revolution. It has been a museum since the mid-19th century. And the essence of Versailles is to welcome visitors. The first year we welcomed more than 1 million visitors was in 1936, just before World War II. So for us, it's very important to welcome visitors in the park, in the garden, in the Palace of Versailles, but also in the Trianon estate, where there is the Queen's Hamlet, the Grand Trianon, and the Petit Trianon. So for us, it's quite moving. And the team of Versailles, the president of Versailles, was in the courtyard on the 19th of May to welcome the first visitors. And it was quite moving to see those visitors coming back on the first day, on the first hour. So we're really eager to come back here.
It's interesting that you say, I love when you say that, the tradition at Versailles is to welcome visitors. And so, for you, among, I think, many other institutions, it was so important to be able to welcome. And I love that fact that your president, Catherine Pégard, was there to welcome on May 19th.
Yes, it was really important yes, exactly, to greet visitors. She was with one of the curators of the museum. And it's a nonsense for Versailles to be closed, to remain closed for so long time. And So it's really, you were speaking of DNA. It's in our DNA to welcome those
Hmm.
visitors, to open the doors, and to show the collection, to show the heritage, to show the gardens, and be together with the public, with all audience, with families, with adults, with kids, coming alone, with their friends. And the essence of Versailles is to welcome everyone from France and from abroad. Unfortunately, we don't have so many foreign visitors for now, but we're waiting for them to, the sooner the better.
As you pointed out just before, you said you invited our viewers to ask questions. This is a conversation. This new series called Secret Journeys Talks is really meant to be a conversation. It's live. It's going to be once a month. So please, in the send us your questions. Whether you're watching this live or as a replay, you can always comment. This is a LinkedIn Live, so in the comments you can always comment and ask questions, and I will, with the help of Paul, be able to answer any. We'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Um, Following the question about how it feels to reopen, obviously it's, this pandemic caused these shutdowns. You've mentioned foreign visitors not being able to come and to sort of taste that tradition of greeting and welcoming. Um, beyond not having visitors, was there any impact, and how has it affected the estate?
Yes, the pandemic has a huge impact on the state of Versailles. As previously said, we had the two shutdowns, and it was really sad to discover the palace without anyone. And sometimes people say, okay, that would be great to be able to visit the Hall of Mirror with no one, like a private tour, which
Hmm.
is actually great. But when it's for one night or for one specific event, but to have the Hall of Mirror empty 2 days in a row is really sad, and no one uh, is joyful about that. So for us, it was, we are happy to reopen, and obviously one of the big impact of the pandemic and the lockdowns, the closures, is the financial impact, because
Hmm.
on a normal year until 2019, in the pre-COVID era, uh, most of the financial resources of the Palace of Versailles are coming from the visitors. Ticketing entrance is the biggest resource of Versailles, but also the shops, the restaurants. So for us, being closed has a huge impact.
Hmm.
But during the closure, it was closed for visitors, closed for public tours, and closed for private tours. There are no private tours during the closure of the shutdown, but the works and the professional continue to be on site, and we took the opportunity, if I may say, of the shutdown to pursue the numerous works of the estate of Versailles. The biggest one, the most important one of the recent years, is obviously the works on the Royal Chapel, on the rooftop of the Royal
Yes.
Chapel, and it's finally done now. We're quite happy with the scaffolding is over. You can discover again the magnificent roof
Mm.
and magnificent Royal Chapel. So, but we also had work in the apartment of the Dauphin, on the ground floor below the apartment of the Queen. We also had works in the gardens with the Queen's Grove that will reopen next week, or in the coming days or week, like in mid-June. So this is amazing. We had some big sponsorship on this grove, and there were a lot of works in the garden. So in the gardens, on the palace, on the Royal Chapel. So it was closed for visitors, but the workers continue to paint, to mold, to guide
Hmm.
in the palace. So that was important to remain active. And obviously the gardens and the flowers, the trees, um, were under maintenance, and they were kept watered, and so on, to have a magnific park and garden to welcome everyone now. And June is one of the best season to discover the gardens, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's the main point, is that it's reopening. The reopening is happening at the right time, at the right season. I want to talk more about the Royal Chapel, because that was a major project. But as you pointed out, it was an opportunity to move on and renovate and manage the estate. Obviously, a big lack of income for the estate. Um, Selfishly, I'll tell you, Paul. In between shutdowns, I was able to go to Versailles, and so it was a pleasure for French people to rediscover Versailles with very fewer visitors. So, but that's my little selfish
Yeah.
point of view, and that's not going
Yes,
to
but
help the financial side.
you're right, Philip. Last summer or last fall, when we were open in between the two lockdowns, it was some amazing condition to visit the state of Versailles. On those exceptional conditions are back now. So the palace is now open, the Trianon estate is now open, and we have some gauge, so we have some limited entrance.
Mm.
Most of the ticketing is online. On all of the ticketing of the palace is a timed entry ticketing. So there is no line, because when you're buying your ticket, you have the ticket with a time slot of half an hour. So the entrance in the palace is sure for a 30 minutes slot. And so there's no line and there's no crowd inside the palace, because
Mhm.
the offer inside the palace is huge now, because you have obviously the Hall of Mirrors, the great apartment of the king, the great apartment of the queen, but you have the Napoleon's room open every day on guided tours. So those rooms have been refurbished and redone and are amazing. You can see a little Star Wars laser. It was some fun we had a few weeks ago on the social networks of the Palace of Versailles. But those rooms are open. There is a molding galleries, which is amazing, which is open all afternoons on weekends for free for everyone.
Mhm.
And this place is rarely open, so it's really now the great opportunity to visit this place. We have now until the end of this week, until the 13th of June, we have the Rigaud exhibition
Mhm.
about with the king, the Sun King portrait, and so on. So this exhibition is really amazing, with an exceptional scenography from Pierluigi Pizzi. And we also have a drawing exhibition that just opened last Tuesday on the 1st of June, and this will be open for all the summer. And from the 19th of June, we'll have an exhibition in the Trianon estate, in the gardens of the Trianon,
Mhm.
the gardens of Trianon of Lalanne, the famous couple
Yes.
who made those sculptures about animals. So it will be quite amazing to see in this place where Marie Antoinette used to have some real animals, to have these exhibitions of animal sculptures.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
the offering, the cultural offer is really important now for all the summer, and the conditions for visiting are amazing, because there's less visitors, and all the visitors in the palace, they have a timed entry and there are many rooms open. So it's quite exceptional.
Yeah. It's and I want to talk more about the
Mm.
temporary exhibits that you've mentioned, but going back to the point that you raised about this photo, and I want to ask you a question about the sanitary and safety measures in place today. And you talked about the slots and how now everything is
Yeah.
really well organized, and you've sort of had the opportunity to rehearse in a way in between the two lockdowns,
Yes,
and to really get that straight.
exactly.
But this, as you mentioned, this was a Star Wars visual for social media, and it just shows also the creativity. And this is part of your
Mm.
job. This is what you're
Yeah.
bringing to Versailles, is this creativity and having fun with
Yes, we try to.
with
No,
you know with history, but respecting history, but allowing a bit of flexibility and fun, really, to reach new audiences. And I think that's
yes,
the key point. And you'll tell us more about your digital presence over the past few years.
yes.
Um, Maybe just a last question on safety measures. Are you saying that when more people, because this is really a question that many of our partners at Secret Journeys are going to ask us, um, is when people will be coming, visitors, guests will be coming back to Versailles, the lines that we usually know at Versailles,
Yeah.
uh, those lines are not going to be they will be manageable. Is that what you're?
Yes, yes, yes. They will be manageable, definitely. First, for so just on the safety measures, so the mask is mandatory within the three palaces, so the main Palace of Versailles plus the Grand Trianon and the Petit Trianon. The mask is also mandatory in the main courtyard of the palace, and the mask is mandatory in the gardens when there is a fountain shows in the gardens. But the
Mhm.
mask is not mandatory in the park around the Grand Canal, and the mask is not mandatory in the garden when there is no fountain show. So this is the first thing. There is some
Mhm.
hand sanitizer gel at the entrance of the palaces, obviously. So guests are welcome to use them. Plus, the time slot entrance is something quite important. It was not mandatory, but existing for the last 2 or 3 years,
Mhm.
and now it is mandatory. So it is mostly advisable to book online. Still, some tickets are on sale on site at the cashier's desk, but I recommend that you buy your ticket online. It is the same price, and even if you enjoy a gratuity for the entrance, so all visitors below 18 years old from all over the world do not pay to access the palace, but they still need a time slot. So they have to book the time slot online for
Mhm.
free. Obviously, it's free.
Yeah.
And so there may be a line because the time slot is from 30 minutes to 30 minutes. So if you arrive at 5 past 10, and you have a time slot at 10, you may enter the palace at 20 past 10, maybe. So
Mhm.
you may wait for 10 to 15 minutes, but the line won't be long, obviously. And at the Trianon estate, there is no time slot for the moment, but there might be some, but the flow is smaller at the Trianon estate.
Mhm.
So those huge lines are more of a souvenir now.
Wonderful. Thank you. Moving to the Royal Chapel, because
Yeah,
this is an amazing photo, and
yeah.
uh, I must say that I've seen it, and when I bring friends over and they come and visit, I tell them let's go and see it, let's go watch it. And the best sun for me is the sun coming from the west, the sunset in the afternoon.
Yeah.
It's just splendid. This is like the most important project, and as you said, the pandemic allowed to maybe speed up in a way and complete this. When was it revealed and completed?
It was revealed and completed just a few weeks ago, and I heard that this very morning, early June, the last scaffolding was put off, and so you can really discover the full royal chapel from bottom to the head, if I may say. And all the work has been done. You can see on these pictures that all the stone has been cleaned and for some parts renewed. All the statue of the apostles have been restored, and all the gold on the roof has been remade. So the plumber work, the carpenter work,
Mm.
um, a lot of craftsmen and craftswomen work on this amazing project. You may discover more on our YouTube channel. We have like more than 10 videos about the work of the Royal Chapel, and we have a dedicated website. So this project was huge, thanks to the sponsor of Philanthropia that previously sponsored an also big project, the restoration of the Latona Fontaine on the Latona Parterre in the garden. You know, this big
Mhm.
big fountain in the central center of the palace of the garden. And so this project was of the Royal Chapel was under work for more than 3 years. So for us, it's a big achievement and quite moving to see it. And when you arrive Versailles, as you said, Philippe, when you're in front of the Place d'Armes, and even if you pass by with your car, biking, walking, and you see this chapel, like it's really something. So we are.
It's like floating. It's like floating in the air. It's like it's like dentelle. Dentellerie.
Yes, it's like Dantellerie, and also the windows with the vitraux have been restored, and more than 10 different kind of workers worked on this big workout of the Royal Chapel. So we're very happy. So the Royal Chapel is now open for guided tours and for concert too.
Mhm.
So you may book a guided tour or a private tour and benefit a visit of the Royal Chapel. And the organ inside is amazing. It's still working, obviously. And funny to speak about the organ, we will publish tonight at 8 p.m. on the 7th of June an original video with some music of the organ of the Royal Chapel.
Mm. Well, I'm going to sign up for a concert very soon.
Yes,
I
you're more
can't
than welcome.
I can't wait for this. So, are you saying this 3-year renovation, probably in recent years, this has been the most important renovation happening on
Yes,
the estate, right?
yes, definitely, because it was one of the most urgent and one of the biggest restoration. And the president of the Palace of the Estate of Versailles, Catherine Pégard, explained well this the happiness she had when the sponsor said, "Okay, yes, go for it, go for the restoration of the Royal Chapel."
Hmm.
And from this sentence, she understood at that time, a few years ago, that this renovation will be done until the end. So
Hmm.
that's quite fantastic to have the opportunity to work on this kind of work, on this kind of chantier, amazing work. Yeah.
The next question leads actually
Mm.
into, you've already covered some of the renovation that you were able
Mm.
to continue during the past year. Uh, what are the restorations, renovations?
Mm.
I mean, still happening, and important ones coming up,
Yeah.
or taking place.
Yes, there are a few restorations. The pictures you're actually seeing is not under restoration. It's a molding gallery in the small stables of the king. So when you have the palace on your back, it's the stable on your right,
Hmm.
and this place is amazing. So this is the place open every afternoon on Saturdays and Sundays, so for free. So really, like, if you have the opportunity to visit this place, it's quite amazing. And so the other places under renovation, there is Dubarry apartment,
Hmm.
Madame Dubarry apartment in the Palace of Versailles on the second floor of the palace. So it's a smaller project, but not so small because it's a 18 months project. And there is also the appartement du Dauphin,
Hmm.
the Dauphin cabinet and the Dauphin library, la bibliothèque du Dauphin. So this is on the ground floor below the apartment of the Queen. There is also some work in the La Salle du Jeu de Paume. So it's also managed by the Palace of Versailles, but it's not within the palace. It's more in the
Hmm.
city of Versailles.
Yeah.
But some works need to be done. So it will begin this summer 2021. We will also begin in the coming weeks some works in the Trianon estate, and especially in Le Buffet d'Eau, which is an amazing fontaine of the garden of the Trianon estate.
Hmm.
And speaking of Trianon, we also finished the restoration of l'appartement Louis-Philippe, the Louis-Philippe's apartment in the Grand Trianon, which I've not seen yet personally,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I've heard it's amazing. Which is on all those places. When we are doing restoration, it's just not to please some creators. We're really happy to open those places. Some
Hmm.
of them they are open only in guided tours or private tours, and some of those places are open for all visitors. But all those places are open for guided tours or for private tours for individuals or groups.
So you're saying the Madame du Barry, and we know these apartments which are above the apartments of the king.
Yeah.
Those apartments, even though they are being renovated and restored, we can still access them.
Not
No.
not during the renovation. Not
No.
during
Okay.
the renovation, because it's really small and narrow, and for security reasons. So there is no visit of when there is
Mhm.
the works are being done. It's really rare to have a restoration. Sometimes the sponsor may have a visit during the
Mhm.
works, but no, there is no visit. But once those apartments and rooms have been restored, they are open to the public afterwards.
Mhm.
So, for example, the apartment of Louis Philippe in the Grand Trianon is now open on guided tours.
It's interesting listening to all the renovations that you've just described. It reminds me of a conversation that, and you were probably there with Catherine Pégard, your president, which is that the objective is really to open up as many spaces beyond the restoration, but it's also opening up new spaces that were currently closed to the public. And that actually is also part of the tradition of greeting and welcoming at Versailles. It's also making sure that most of the estate could be visited, because there are still hidden parts of the estate which need
Yes.
renovation in order to open.
Exactly. For us, and it will be one of the legacy of Catherine Pégard, is to have an open palace and to open new places. So for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been in the Palace of Versailles for 6 years now. We may say that we reopened the coach gallery, so la Galerie des Carrosses, in the great stable of the king, so on the left when you have the palace on your back. With amazing carriage from the 18th, 19th, and 20th century. We've opened the Crusade galleries on the ground floor on the north end of the palace. We opened the Empire rooms, so they are open now, so you can come tomorrow, they will be open. We have opened some rooms in the Grand Trianon, in the Petit Trianon. So it's in Versailles. We try to open the more places, the most places possible, and
Yeah.
it's very important for welcoming visitors to open. We have visit libre, so you visit freely with the audio guide, with the mobile application, the free mobile application and the free audio guide in 12 languages now. So you can download for free all those content. And most paths of the Palace of Versailles have an audio guide or a pass in the palace on the mobile application. The Crusade rooms, you have an audio guide. The coach gallery, you have an audio guide. The Grand Trianon, the Petit Trianon, the Queen's Hamlet. And for us, being open is obviously the core role of the public establishment of Versailles, to open the estate, but giving some mediation to the visitors, to the kids, to the families, to the group, to the French visitors, they have been coming for years, or for foreigners if they are coming for the first time in Versailles. So the mediation is important. We have some cartels in some rooms, but we have the audio guide and the mobile application, which is really important. And we have almost like 15 different paths in the mobile application for free.
Yeah, it's a great application. I actually wanted to ask you a side question, because you mentioned the legacy of already of Catherine Pégard, and it's interesting. I discovered how this role is really important, so important that it is the president of France who appoints the presidency, or this role of the estate of Versailles. And I don't know if you could share just a few words. I think there were 2 terms, this is the 3rd term.
Yes, Catherine Pégard, she is in her 3rd terms of being president of the Palace of Versailles. She has been appointed by Nicolas Sarkozy, and she has the 2nd term by François Hollande, and the 3rd term by Mr. President Emmanuel Macron. And now 3rd term is the maximum she can have, because there is no 4th term for this kind of public establishment. And so we will have in the next 12 months, most probably a new president. So we will see. But yes, for us being open and having a scientific proposition with amazing exhibition, any time of the year we have an exhibition, and with with foreign masterpieces that coming from abroad, from the US, from
Mhm.
British museums at large. Sometimes the British Museum itself, but British museums or US museums, but also from China. Next year we will have an amazing exhibition in Beijing, in the Forbidden City, of artworks of Versailles, but we also have a digital exhibition with a digital proposition in China, now in Shanghai, until the end of next week. And on this digital exhibition will tour in China, in mainland China, in different cities.
Mhm.
And so the Palace of Versailles is obviously in Versailles, but the Palace of Versailles is also everywhere, with
Yes.
the social networks, with the YouTube channel.
Mhm.
Speaking of China, we are also on Sina Weibo, we are on WeChat, we are now on Douyin, we are also on TikTok, the famous teenager social network. And for us, yes, you see, we are almost at 1 million followers on our Instagram account that we launched 6 years ago. But for us, we're speaking of being open, but yes, try to open the most of the palace and to be open to everyone. And for us, it's important to welcome French people, people from Versailles who are doing their jogging in the garden, lucky them, but
Mhm.
also people of the rest of France, the rest of Europe, and people of the rest of the world. And having Chinese visitors, US visitors, visitors from South America. And for us, the president of Versailles, she says that Versailles belongs to everyone. So it's
Mhm.
Versailles does not belong to the staff of Versailles. Obviously, Versailles belongs to everyone. Unfortunately, most of the world population cannot come to Versailles now because of the sanitary reasons. We are aware that even when there is no pandemic, it's difficult for some people from abroad to come as much as they would like to visit Versailles. So for those, we have a digital proposition
Mhm.
for the time they cannot come to Versailles. So we have the social networks in China, in the Western world. We have the YouTube channel. We are publishing one video a week, roughly. So this is quite a big proposition. But we also have some virtual reality application that you can download for free on Steam. So
Mhm.
we had two experiences. One we've made with the Orange Foundation, when you can relive some exceptional days of the Ancien Régime before the French Revolution. One
Mhm.
is Siam Embassy in September 1686, when the Siam Embassy pays a visit to Louis XIV. And we also have another virtual experience that we've made in partnership with Google Arts and Culture. And with this free experience available in French, Chinese, and English, you can discover the palace as it is today, with a lot of mediation content, a lot of exclusive content, a dedicated audio guide, and you can move freely in the estate with a night ambience, day ambience,
Mhm.
different atmosphere. So it's really unique. And for us, it's important to propose Versailles to everyone and
Mhm.
different conditions.
It's interesting because here you're touching upon, your role as head of digital. These are the two hats you
Yeah.
have within the communication, and as head of digital, and in line with the vision of the presidency, as you described it, it's really to reach out to the world and really showcase Versailles in many different ways. And here with your digital strategy, it's really looking at every single platform to reach all different audiences wherever they are, experimenting. This is also what I'm hearing
Yeah.
with, and but and in a way, what we're doing today is also part of reaching different audiences on different mediums, different platforms. And to that question, which is on the slide here about your digital presence, and maybe if you can touch upon something even more specific during these months or this past year, where I've witnessed on Instagram, you've really done more experimentation with different formats.
Yes.
If you can describe maybe something that has really worked
Mm.
well, that even has surprised you, uh,
Yeah.
and maybe something perhaps that you sort of left, you did once, and you sort of
Yeah.
decided that it was maybe not the right time or for different reasons.
Yeah.
That'd be really interesting.
Yes, we keep experiencing, as you say, Philippe, in Versailles. Palace of Versailles has always been a place of experience. You may not know that the first inhabited air balloon flight
Hmm.
was held in Versailles, in the Palace of Versailles, in the years 1780s,
Yeah.
under the reign of Louis XVI. So, and we had a virtual exhibition on the sciences at Versailles, so you may discover in French and in English too,
Mm.
to see all the innovation and exploration we had in Versailles. It can be for the gardening or for the animals, for the geometry, for many things. But back to the 21st century, we have a lot of innovation. Some of it is in digital, but not only in digital. And yes, for the last 15 months, we've tried some new things. One is a live, so today is a live me speaking, uh, but most of the time it's more about curators or architects or gardeners. On what they say is much more interesting than what I can say. I'm sorry, and
I
on
don't
to
agree.
no, on having those specialists speaking about the heritage, architecture, or the life of Versailles, because yes, during the first lockdown, Versailles was closed, unfortunately, but still, we had to maintain the garden, so we had a lot of life with the gardeners, and they were explaining the orange at Versailles, and all the cultures and the trees
Hmm.
in Versailles. So yes, those live. It was funny to see that the audience was quite keen of those live, and were eager to follow us there. And but also the curators and the gardeners, they're quite appreciative. And sometimes they're ringing in, saying, "Okay, what about a live in the coming days or week on this or this subject?" And for us at the digital team in Versailles, we are about passing some content. So we're taking the content from the curators,
Hmm.
and sometimes we need to put it into a video in a Instagram story or so on, and passing it through the audience everywhere on the digital audience. So for us, it's quite important, and we're really like being at the communication in Versailles is really about being the bridge between the heritage and collection from one side,
Hmm.
the audience on the other side. And it's not for us to choose on which channel to say, okay, you need to follow us. YouTube or nothing else. No, it's not like that. For some fans of Versailles, it will be on Instagram. For others, it will
Hmm.
be about our magazine, Les Carnets de Versailles, which is a semestrial magazine. So everyone is able to choose where to follow us on which platform, but
Yeah.
also in China, as I said, in different language. So the lives were quite successful.
Hmm.
The last lives we had were on TikTok, so for a younger audience, and on Douyin in Chinese. So that was a first for a non-Chinese museum to be live on Douyin. So we were the first. Was a bit hectic, but we finally managed to be live on Douyin. So that was really cool. This live on LinkedIn is the first too. But we also had some filters on Instagram with Apollo Bassin. So we're really experimenting, and I mean, both the digital and the state of Versailles are some good places for experience, and quite
Hmm.
appropriate places for experience. And the good thing with the social networks, obviously we publish some content, but we also hear about what the audience is saying, and we are
Hmm.
republishing a lot of pictures from the fans of Versailles, and we are republishing their pictures in our Instagram stories. We're also publishing. We have a photo souvenir project for the last 7 years now, which is an amazing project where you can send us your pictures of Versailles from last year, from 20 years ago, from 50 years ago. We have some pictures of Versailles, of visitors at Versailles from the first part of the 20th century, and we're republishing those pictures. And it's quite amazing and moving to see that, because sometimes some visitors they believe that Versailles was seized in at the French Revolution in 1789, between 1793. But Versailles pursued its life with Napoleon. So this year is a commemoration of the 200 years anniversary of the death of Napoleon. So it's in Versailles where there is the most numerous and amazing paintings about Napoleon in the Empire rooms, on the Napoleon's room in the Attic du Midi. And it's important for us to continue to innovate and show that Versailles in the 19th century and Versailles in the 20th century. And we had last week a colloque, conferences for professionals, but it was live on YouTube, about Versailles and the French museums and French palaces during World War II. So yes, there was a live actually in Versailles during World War II and World War One. We have on our YouTube channel a web series with 4 videos about Versailles during World War One. That you may watch, quite interesting. And you just show Philip, yes, the John Fitzgerald Kennedy video that we published last week. It was the 60 years anniversary on the 1st of June of 2020, the 60 years anniversary of the visit of John Fitzgerald and Jackie Kennedy to Versailles. So there was quite a formal dinner, as we may say, in the Hall of Mirror. So yes, please watch this video. And yes, when you're thinking of Versailles, you're thinking of the Hall of Mirror, but you're more thinking about Louis XIV. But now you know that JFK and Jackie Kennedy, they did have dinner in the Hall of Mirror. And about the relationship between the US and France and the Hall of Mirror, we published last year a web page about the Royal Battle. It was a battle, I don't know, Philippe, if you heard about that. It was a competition about fashion designers, 5 US fashion designers and 5 French fashion designers, with different mannequins. How do you say that?
Models, with different models.
Yeah, different models. And for one of the first time in France, there were some black models, and it was an amazing evening and an amazing gala in Versailles. And you may find some more information about that on the website of the palace. So yes,
well, thank you for that. Thank you for your digital perspective, and really what I'm hearing loud and clear is this strategy, which is platform agnostic, and it's
yes,
really
exactly, yeah.
really being
which remember some things, this platform,
which is really being wherever the audience is, and not obviously, as you were saying, not forcing anyone to view one different platform, but also engaging. I think engagement is really high in this world, and you have to engage with your audience,
yes,
and repurpose, really reuse the content that is generated by the lovers of Versailles. So, and I think you're doing an exceptional work in doing this. And to this, I actually skipped to this question because that was relating to what you were saying, and I know in preparing this conversation together, you've mentioned that there is a strategy which is also to remind lovers of Versailles and the estate that there's a lot happened at during the 20th century.
Yes.
And this specific event, among others, there's one other with the Rockefeller family, but these events have marked the history of Versailles, and they're quite recent. These are contemporary events, and I think that is really important to have the history, connecting the dots from the monarchy, but bringing into the republics and bringing it to this contemporary world we're in. So I think that's also what you're doing with different formats. This was a 3-minute video, which I really enjoyed, on this amazing visit with amazing photos.
Yes.
archive photos that you're able to find. What are the other sort of to anchor in the same vein, to anchor these the contemporary history of Versailles? What are some of the other events that you've decided to showcase on your digital platforms?
Yeah, digital platforms. As mentioned, there is a World War One Versailles during
Yes.
World War One, so that was something quite important. We had also a video last year that we published at the reopening of Versailles in June 2020 with all the fontaine shows in the archives of the French audiovisual TV, and we've done the same thing for the Palace. And it was quite. You will find all those videos on our YouTube channel, and to see that the sentence said by the visitors on the 19th of May were more or less the same that have been said after World War II when the palace reopened again, and the the atmosphere of the estate of the palace across the centuries and the decades. It has been important to have those visitors in the 40s after World War II, and now after the pandemic closure, and welcoming those visitors. So we've done things about the G7 from Mitterrand in the early 80s. The newly elected President François Mitterrand received President Reagan, and others in the early 80s. So it was the first time of a big modern international event in Versailles. And we had recently, like 4 years ago, we had President Macron received President Putin from Russia. And
I remember that.
Yes, voilà. Versailles is a museum. Versailles is a palace, but Versailles is also a palace of the French Republic. So it has this diplomatic role too.
Yes,
This is held not. This is held by the French foreign minister or by the Élysée Palace. It is not held by the staff of the public establishment of the Palace of Versailles.
And it's interesting that you've highlighted this diplomatic dimension of Versailles. And I don't know how many of our viewers will know that Macron has a residence called La Lanterne next to Versailles. Well, in Versailles.
Yes, exactly. Next to Versailles, there is a private residence for the French president of French Republic that he can use when he's elected. And yes,
with beautiful gardens. And this is a question I wanted to ask you about the interest for. I mean, it has always been strong for gardens and the park of Versailles. You've mentioned earlier in this conversation how during this past year the maintenance of the gardens was key and very important, so that. Because although there are no visitors, that is something you need to keep neat and tidy. But do you feel that there will be a renewed interest that we see worldwide for nature and for gardens, for parks?
Yes, I mean the garden of Versailles has always been of first interest for the caretakers of Versailles and for the visitors. Obviously, the monument you see on the picture is the buffet d'eau I was speaking about in the Trianon garden, the gardens of the Grand Trianon. And so the gardens of Versailles is a museum. I mean, it is an open-air museum, an outdoor museum with more than 400 sculptures and fountains and groves. So the Garden of Versailles is really like a museum, and you have in the mobile application you have several paths for you, for your children, to discover the garden. And for the last 2 years, even before the pandemic, we began to publish some thematic content on the garden. So the first one was two paths, one in the Trianon estate, one in the Garden of Versailles, on the admirable trees of Versailles. And so it's a path with each time like around 12 or 15 amazing trees. The comment is by the gardeners of Versailles. And it's interesting because sometimes you're walking by an amazing tree and you can't recognize it by yourself, which is my case, obviously. And but now with the audio guide and the mobile application, you just open your eyes and discover a sequoia, ginkgo biloba, an oak tree, and so on. So it's really interesting to have those two paths about the remarkable trees and and on the speech given by the gardeners. But we also published last year a pass in the Gardens of Versailles with admirable sculptures, the most sculptures of the garden. And this is amazing too. It's a curator of the Palace of Versailles, specialist obviously of the sculptures. And you have this path with more than 20 sculptures of the Garden of Versailles. Some of the sculptures are fountains, some are not. And it's a really amazing opportunity to discover the garden with a new angle. And we're also working on biodiversity and giving some mediation tool and mediation content about biodiversity. And we've done this in the park nearby the Grand Canal with the Rue de Galie. The Rue de Galie is a small Galie river, if I may say, who is sourcing from the Grand Canal and crossing the park and living his life after on some kilometers. And this is also some visits that we propose now in Versailles. So Versailles in the nature and some guided tours that we will propose some guided tours in the garden and park soon.
This wonderful news. Those two paths that you've mentioned for trees and for the sculptures, those are available on the application?
Yes, they are available on the mobile application for free in French and in English. So you just have to download the Château de Versailles application on your mobile phone, either an iPhone or an Android phone. And yes, you can download the path for the admirable trees and the admirable sculptures.
And your tree knowledge is actually pretty good because you've mentioned ginkgo.
Yes.
You have to know trees to know what a ginkgo is.
Yes, because I had the opportunity to follow the tour by the famous gardener of the Trianon estate on a marathon.
Yeah.
And yes, we have a really nice pair of ginkgo biloba trees. Yeah.
You've also mentioned to stay on gardens and parks. You had mentioned to me that you are going to offer bicycle. This is coming up, right? Bicycle tours.
This summer, for the first time, the Palace of Versailles will propose some bicycle tours in the park of Versailles. So you will see the Rue de Galie. I don't know the exact program of the tour, but I assume you will see the Rue de Galie and go around the Grand Canal, which is amazing, and more remote places where sometimes you don't have the time to go. But with the bike is also an amazing way to discover the estate of Versailles, definitely.
Well, that bike tour sounds very, very appealing. We have just a few last questions. You've mentioned the temporary exhibits already, so I don't know if briefly you want to highlight, and you also mentioned the how sculptures, and this is also part of the legacy of the current presidency, is having contemporary sculptures in the gardens.
Exactly, contemporary art. So this is a sculpture from the Lalanne couple in the Jardin du Petit Trianon, nearby the Pavillon Français. And so this exhibition is opening on the Saturday 19th of June and will last for all summer until early October. So it will be an amazing opportunity to rediscover the garden of the Petit Trianon, the Queen's Hamlet, and to see those animals in those gardens. So this is quite exceptional. And we also have all the summer this drawing exhibition in the Palace of Versailles. It's in the Maintenon apartments. And the Maintenon apartments are one of the places I mentioned earlier regarding the new open places, because the Maintenon apartments have been restored a few years ago, and they are now welcoming some exhibitions. And
there's also the third one. So there's the contemporary sculptures, the drawings, and the third one is the portraiture of the king. No.
Exactly, the portrait of the king with the Rigaud exhibition, portrait of the same king. The sun portrait. And this exhibition is only until next Sunday, the 13th of June. So
okay.
if you have the opportunity to go now, it's an amazing exhibition. We have some guided tours, but you can visit it without a guided tour. And it's amazing, but you will also have the opportunity when the exhibition is closed to visit the exhibition online, to have a virtual tour of the Rigaud exhibition.
Mm-hmm. We're here to our last question, and this is really I've selected this photo with you to sort of look at the years to come, the months to come. You've mentioned many of the renovation projects. You've mentioned also that the presidency is coming to its third term, and so there will be a new president. What are you working on, and how do you see the months and the years to come?
Yes, we know that for this year, some of the non-European visitors may not come back soon, but we are really waiting for them, and we would like for them to be happy to come or to come back in Versailles the sooner. And we'll have an exhibition about the animal of the kings in next winter. So this will be also a big project. We will have a podcast about that too. So this is important. Just for the summer, you see on this picture the Latona Fontaine with the fountain and the water on. And so every weekend in June and most of the days in July and August, there is a water fountain shows. On the night fountain show on Saturdays evening, which is an amazing show with the fireworks. So this is quite something, if I may say.
Yeah.
And for the next year, yes, we will be on also working both on digital, but also on scientific project, some new exhibition, and new openings, and really welcoming everyone from all age and from all countries. So this is the core essence of Versailles, being open and welcome.
Well, that is a great note to end. And I actually wanted to say, because you had mentioned that, yes, there are curators, gardeners doing interesting talks. I thought this was a very, very interesting and fascinating talk for the audience that we're reaching, which are travel professionals who are with their clients discussing Versailles and other destinations. But for Versailles, I think this really was a great opportunity to dive a bit deeper into understanding what has happened for the past year. What are your important projects? What's happening, both physical but digital. So this was, for me, it was a great, and I'm sure for many of our viewers, current and future, for this first LinkedIn Live. I think it was very, very interesting, insightful. So merci, Paul, for.
You're welcome. Thank you to you, Philippe, to give me the opportunity to present the offer. I was happy and honored to be one of your guests here.
Well, it was the pleasure was shared, and as a little farewell photo, this is the inside of the Chapelle Royale. Which was also, this ceiling was renovated, right, Paul, as well, right?
Yes, 2 years ago, because there was an exhibition like a few years ago at Charles de la Fosse, which painted a part of the ceiling. And now you can see the ceiling with a natural light and the new restored windows on vitraux, which is amazing too, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for again for joining, Paul. Thank you for watching. This is the end of our first Secret Journeys talk. We'll have these once a month, and thanks for watching. And please email me or contact me or Paul directly.
Yes, sure.
May I ask everyone to contact you?
Yes. I'd be pleased to answer.
Yeah, and in the feed of this live, yes, please ask your questions. We'll be, as I said earlier, more than happy to answer. À très bientôt, Paul.
À bientôt. Au revoir. Merci.
Bye bye.